Hi, Rocky. Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. And for the sake of the Filipinos watching, I will be speaking in Tagalog if you don't mind. Joking. Just joking. Let me just give you a rundown, a lowdown of what happened during the ASEAN and China meet earlier today. There was I'd like to mention the countries that spoke according to who spoke first now. There was Laos, of course, who moderated the entire event, and then China, and Singapore followed, Brunei, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and then the Philippines spoke, Malaysia, Myanmar, and it was closed by His Excellency Prime Minister Thongloun Sisoulith of Laos PDR. For China, this is what Premier Li Keqiang of China said. He stressed the importance of their contribution, and he did say that China was the first country to sign the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in the Southeast Asia, the readiness to sign the Southeast Asia Nuclear Weapon-Free Zone Treaty. He also stressed that the first to negotiate an FTA, or free trade area, with the ASEAN. And the Premier added that there is a political mutual trust already between the ASEAN and China. It is important to have more integrated relations with ASEAN and China, and the positive perspectives and value friendships, and the need to pursue common interest. As of the South China Sea, the Premier said the SCS should not represent the main relations. The trend is to resolve differences, will be good. There is now positive direction in our relations, and the declaration of conduct in the South China Sea should happen next year, after the framework of the Code of Conduct is being dealt with by the ASEAN region. Cambodia, they welcomed the new neighborhood relations with ASEAN. Thailand also said that not to allow overlapping maritime issues to affect overall relations. President Widodo of Indonesia said that there is the need to contribute peace in ASEAN-China relations through maritime cooperation, and not to allow the SCS, or the South China Sea issue, to be the platform for power projection. Vietnam, the need to add a substance to the comprehensive partnership and support for the Mekong regional cooperation. As for the Philippines, this is what President Rodi Duterte explained earlier. It is imperative to have people-to-people exchange. Investment relationships should be fostered. Tourism growth in the ASEAN region. International disputes should inspire us to work together with adherence to the rule of law and international governing bodies. Put words into actions and be on the side of peace. On the other hand, Malaysia thanked China for the support it has given to the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, supporting the ASEAN integration. The South China Sea issue should be dealt with in a multifaceted character and should be handled constructively. Myanmar's Aung San Suu Kyi said people-to-people relations in ASEAN and China is very important. She said that governments come and go, but people stay. And finally, Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong said the SCS issue can be turned into our advantage by placing importance to our common goals. there should be a guideline to the hotline communications established between foreign ministers, and the framework of code of conduct should be initiated this year. Relations broader than any singular issue in terms of China and the ASEAN. And China's success is important to ASEAN, vice versa.
Can we take question now, sir?
No,
Secretary- Presidential Spokesperson Abella, please.
I'd like to give you a summary of the events that happened the day previous, basically about the bilateral meetings with Singapore, Japan, and Vietnam. The bilateral meetings were in general very fruitful. The first meeting was with Singapore, and with the Prime Minister welcoming President Rodrigo Roa Duterte warmly. And he also made mention about recognizing the challenges facing the Philippines, especially regarding illegal drug traffic. He mentioned about the stringent approach of Southeast Asian countries towards drugs, and he wondered how the Philippines dealt with the issue, seeing that they did not have capital punishment. He was also asked regarding the SES, to which the President responded that he was aiming for a soft landing for all, and that talks with China were still within the framework of the positive ruling that favored the Philippines. To which the Prime Minister responded that while Singapore did not have any claims to the region, but there were certain things that were pertinent to them, and that is, number one, rule of law in matters of settling disputes, and freedom of navigation, considering that the region, that particular area, is important to Singapore in terms of international trade. The meeting with Japan was equally positive. Prime Minister Abe mentioned how excited he was to meet with the President, and that how President was famous in Japan.
Add to that the frigate that Japan donated to our country. The frigate. There are two frigates, and one is being delivered to the Philippines.
Also, the meeting with Vietnam was equally warm. They reiterated their long-term commitment to providing rice to the Philippines, and made a vigorous call for the Philippines to engage in trade and investments in Vietnam. So the recurring themes for the three countries could be specifically trade, cooperation, and tourism. It seems that the growing popularity of the President in the region signals a possible development of the President as a rising influential leader, especially among fellow Asians who get him. Regarding the comments of Mr. Duterte, the US, that area of concern has already been appropriately addressed and sufficiently covered. Given the long-standing US-Philippine relationship, we continue to look forward to a truly productive relationship. Suffice it to say that Mr. Duterte's overarching concern is national sovereignty of the Philippines, and it is noteworthy that he has shown flexibility in terms of adjusting when necessary. Let us continue to let events unfold. Thank you.
Thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Abella. First question will come from the Philippine Media Delegation, Raymond Tinasa of Bombo Radio.
Good afternoon, Secretary Andanar. Sir, just to clarify, how did the issue of South China Sea was raised? Was it originally part of the agenda or voluntarily raised by the individual ASEAN leaders in China?
It was voluntarily raised by the different heads of state. They all had their own positions, but the most common position is to work in mutual trust and confidence building and work on the common goals of the ASEAN.
Sir, so our President Rodrigo Duterte mentioned that the international or the maritime dispute, please correct me if I'm wrong, should inspire us to adhere to international law and put words into action. How did the Chinese premier reacted to that very clear message to adherence to the international law over the South China Sea?
He was stoically listening.
Thank you, sir.
Questions about China first or South China Sea? Okay. Please state your name, please.
Good morning, sir. I'm Jonah from Japanese newspaper Asahi Shimbun. The Defense Department earlier today released photographs of the ships, Chinese ships that were seen in Scarborough Shoal just a few days ago. Could we just ask what the purpose was of releasing those photographs today, just before ASEAN met with China?
I'm sorry. Basically, it's simply to announce that we are aware of the movements of any and all movements in the area. That's it.
Was it discussed or mentioned at all during the meetings? No reaction from the Chinese side either?
No, it wasn't discussed.
Follow-up question about South China Sea anymore? Yeah, can please state your name.
Good afternoon, sirs. I'm Ellen Cruz of Tokyo Shimbun. About the code of conduct, how was it discussed? Because you said earlier that China wants to have a code of conduct or start talking about the code of conduct by next year, because the elements or the framework has not yet been finalized. So, how was this discussion on this?
China was vigorously asking to begin with the framework of the Code of Conduct, as well as Singapore. And our President of the Philippines, President Duterte, also expressed his approval of having this framework of Code of Conduct initiated.
Follow-up, the lady in Fuchsia, please.
Hello, it's Stab Fasa from Al Jazeera. I just want to ask again about the images that were released this morning. I've seen the images. Can you explain to us what does it show us? How concerned are you?
As I said earlier, it's simply to announce that we are aware of any and all movements in the area.
That's it?
That's it.
How concerned are you about the movements?
Enough to announce it. Thank you.
Please state your name, please.
Martin from AFP, Agent France Press. I just want to follow up on the ships. Have you asked for any clarification from China? Why the increased number of ships there, and why are the ships there?
There are talks, but at this stage we just keep it there.
So there are back channel talks.
They're back channel talks.
Question?
Yes.
Sir, Jim Gomez from
Yes.
AP. Sir, the president himself said last week, I think, that he will ask the Chinese premier what those Chinese barges are doing at Scarborough Shoal, and where does the president intend to raise this up with the Chinese premier in these meetings this week? And as a quick follow-up, if there is confirmation that Chinese reclamation is underway, how will the Philippines respond?
At this stage, sorry. At this stage, it's an ongoing conversation, so it would be best to leave it there. It's an ongoing conversation.
But the president will raise it as he said last week publicly.
It's an ongoing conversation. Thank you.
Sir, follow up. There were two things that were adopted in the China-ASEAN meeting: the queues and the hotline, ministry hotline. When will this take effect in the South China Sea? The code for unplanned encounters at sea and the ministry to ministry hotlines.
The hotline between the different foreign affairs ministers of the different ASEAN countries should happen as soon as possible.
Good afternoon, sir. Ron Kalunsod, Kyodo News.
Hi.
Just very quickly, sir, the arbitral tribunal ruling was never mentioned both in the ASEAN summit retreat and in the ASEAN-China summit. No mention at all, sir. Or specific reference to the arbitral tribunal ruling, July 12 ruling.
The issue of the South China Sea was mentioned during the ASEAN-China dialogue just earlier, but what was underlined by countries like Singapore, the Philippines, was the importance of the rule of law and adhering to international bodies that govern this.
No categorical statements like we ask China to comply with the ruling.
There's none.
Nothing. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, please.
David Tweed from Bloomberg. The Chinese press has just been given a briefing by the Chinese Vice Foreign Minister about the handshake meeting between before the meeting between Mr. Duterte and Mr. Li Keqiang, and they're painting it as a change in relations, a new hand of friendship coming from the Philippines, and a sea change in the direction of the relationship between the two countries. Is that how you would characterize that meeting, or was it more just an informality at the beginning of a meeting?
Our president wants to work on the side of peace, and if you want to work on the side of peace, you shake the hand of the person right next to you.
Hi, it's
Please.
Orpim from GG Press. Just to follow up his question, you mentioned that the president is wanting to work on the side of peace. So are we going to see a sort of dialogue or consultation between the Philippines and China happening in the future, or right now is on an like there's a back channel talk right now?
Our country's been transparent with the backdoor dialogue between our former president, Fidel V. Ramos, and China.
Hi, sir.
Wait, JP, Marlon Ramos, and then JP.
Sir Marlon Ramos, Philippine Daily Inquirer. So you mentioned a while ago that Premier Lee was stoically listening when President Duterte raised the concern on adherence to international law. What does it mean to the Philippine government?
It's difficult to speculate, Marlon, but when you say stoically listening, or if a person is stoic, that means that the face does not have any reaction.
But anyway, did you feel slighted, insulted by
Oh, no.
how the
No,
Chinese
no.
premier
I mean, the Chinese premier was intently listening, and that should make everybody feel good inside the conference room.
Did any of the leaders from the member states bring up the issue of human rights violation, not only regarding the Philippines, but and also other countries in the region?
Nobody did.
JP Bencito.
Hi, sir. Good morning. Good afternoon. Sir, what are the next steps of the Philippine government following the pictures that were released by the Defense Department? Will there be a diplomatic protest that will be filed by the Philippines against China?
The conversations are ongoing, and things are being clarified.
That's the only step, sir. So we're not looking forward to a more concrete plan by
The conversation proceeds towards a certain goal, and that is eventually to be able to settle matters. So it's an ongoing process, especially through FBR.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Questions? Yeah, please
Sir,
state your name.
sir, my name is Cliff Benzon from Nikkei. Still about the ships that were recently monitored near the Scarborough Shoal area. When you say that there are discussions, I mean, what level? Is this, I mean, the discussions on seeking the clarification, is this ministerial to ministerial? Is this part of the formal diplomatic channels? Because I understand the president last week said that he will himself ask the Chinese delegation if a reclamation is being undertaken in that area.
If and when he asks, it hasn't happened yet, as far as we know.
But he plans to ask to clarify by himself.
Well, whether he asks himself or whether he asks it through, let's say, to the ministerial level, it will be done.
Mhm. But at this point, the clarification is in what level? Is it through
It's being clarified.
by our diplomats?
Both. It's a back and forth.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Question.
Sir, sorry. How would you describe the mood? Because before, during the previous administration, some diplomats would say that they feel that there's a feeling of tension inside the room during the ASEAN-China ASEAN-China dialogue. But this time, how do you characterize the situation inside or the mood?
Everyone looked very serious, but happy. But happy.
Happy.
Well, some of them were smiling, so while they were on stage, holding hands and having their photo opportunity.
Yeah, please.
After all, it's the 25th anniversary of the ASEAN and China relationship dialogue.
Please. Microphone. Use the microphone, please.
No tense.
Okay.
No tension.
Good afternoon, sir. Girly Linaw with DPA, German Press Agency. Sir, just a follow-up on the questions on when the President Duterte will bring up this issue. Are there talks about one-on-one meeting between the President and the Premier?
I'm sorry, not presently.
But are we asking for a meeting with them, or are they asking for a meeting with the President?
It should happen soon. I mean, it should happen eventually. That's what I'm saying. It should happen eventually.
Within the summit, sir?
We don't know.
Sir, regarding the photos that were released by DND, can we get some details on the ships? I think President Duterte mentioned something that there was a ship that has a dredging ship. Can we confirm that from the photos?
Apparently, they look like they were not exactly fishing ships.
And what did they look like, sir? I mean,
They did not look like fishing ships.
thank you, sir.
Henry Uri, DZRH.
Secretary, good afternoon. Until when our government are going to wait for China to heed and listen and respect and abide the decision of the tribunal in our favor? Anybody?
There's no, as you very well know, we deal with these matters according to the Asian way. So we do not specify timelines, but we wait for in the words of the president, in the fullness of time.
Follow up, but they're very aggressive to put structures the way we see it with ships moving around. So we don't have any time frame for our government to really ask them to impose or to respect the decision of the tribunal.
We do have dialogue with them. We talk with them.
But no time frame, definitely.
We do talk with them.
Thank you, Henry.
All right.
Yes.
Hi, sir, again of Kyodo News. Sir, were you in the ASEAN-Japan summit, sir? ASEAN-Japan, sir. Were you in the
Both of us, we
Okay.
weren't there, but
okay.
we were briefed by
I was
our
thinking
DFA representatives.
I was wondering if during the ASEAN-Japan meeting, since Japan was very vocal in supporting the Philippine position on the tribunal ruling, if the arbitral tribunal issue was brought up in the ASEAN-Japan meeting, would you know, sir?
Oh no, that wasn't part of the brief. But what was mentioned was how the Prime Minister expressed how he expressed to our president that our president is very popular in Japan. And it was also part of the briefing. Sino ba nag-brief sa atin? Yeah. That Japan was donating 2 frigates.
Microphone, please.
Oh no! I just arrived. I arrived after, briefly after the ASEAN China, so I had to hurry here to talk to you.
Ian Cruz.
Hi, Secretary. Can you just clarify the statement of the President during the Filipino community gathering here in Vientiane that he mentioned that he will eat the Abu Sayyaf members alive?
We do have to understand where, the language and the context of the president. And it simply is a way of saying how forceful he can be. Okay, it's a way of forcefully speaking.
Like a hyperbole, sir? No.
You could say that. It's a very colorful language.
Sir, you mentioned that the president is like a rising influential leader in ASEAN. Can you expound on that, sir?
Basically, the Asians in the region apparently welcome him, and in spite of and because of all the accompanying noise. However, he seems to be able to strike a resonant chord, and I think what usually comes across is his authenticity, and in spite of the language, the colorful language that he uses, the Asians in the region seem to be able to get him, and there seems to be an empathy towards him, and they actually, I cannot specify exactly which nations, but they refer to him and, in a sense, say, if you lead in this matter and lead in certain issues, that they would cooperate.
Okay, we'll take questions for Marlon, then...
Just a follow-up, sir.
Okay.
Because of that, sir, do you think the meeting between President Obama and the President Duterte is feasible also?
In the fullness of time, to quote the president.
We'll take Marlon, then Jim, Manny, and Maricel, then Roy. You.
So just an assessment of the first 2 days of the
Yes.
president here in Vientiane,
Yes.
because this is debut in the international political stage. So.
An assessment. I would say pretty positive. I would rate it pretty positive, considering the fact that he has been warmly welcomed by the leaders present.
Mr. Jim?
Sir, can you tell us if the Philippine policy is not to allow any country to build any structure or turn Scarborough Shoal into an island? Is that non-negotiable? Is that a red line that cannot be crossed?
Okay, I cannot specifically answer that at this stage, but we can get back to you regarding that matter.
Mr. Manny?
Sir, Manny Mugato from Reuters. Last Sunday, the President instructed Foreign Secretary Yasai to ask the ambassador of China in the Philippines to explain what the ships are doing in Scarborough Shoal. Have we heard from the Chinese side if they had already explained their presence in Scarborough Shoal?
They have had a conversation, but the matter is not open to. It's between them at this stage.
So we don't know what they discussed.
We don't know.
When do we know?
Soon.
Maricel Halili, then Roy Mabasa, then JP.
Hi, sirs. Good afternoon. Sir, I understand that there is a possibility that President Duterte and President Obama will be meeting at the gala night this evening. So what should we expect from the event? Will the President initiate to at least have a small chat with President Obama and explain what he really meant with his statements?
It's difficult to speculate, but certainly they will have their drinks and food
Together.
together.
But at this point, is President Duterte willing to talk to President Obama?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Do we have a timeline as to is our target date for the bilateral meeting?
As has been stated, it has been, but there will be, in a meeting like this, there are always opportunities for warmth and civility. So let us expect that.
Yes, sir. May we have your reaction about the statement of Hillary Clinton saying that the decision of President Obama not to meet President Duterte is correct following the insult words?
Senator Clinton, Secretary Clinton is running for president, and we don't want to comment on a candidate in the United States, about a candidate in the United States. Otherwise, baka sabihin nakikialam tayo.
Thank you, Maricel. Roy?
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Roy Mabasa from Manila Bulletin. I'm just curious about the demeanor of the president here in ASEAN. How did you prepare the president coming here? And at least based on my observation, I noticed that the last expletive that he burst out was the other night.
Yes.
And how did you prepare him going here?
Actually, he prepared himself. It was quite interesting to watch him deal with the heads of state during bilateral meetings. The level of conversation was very sophisticated.
And he also looked cool in his black suit.
And
by the way.
handsome, yes.
JP?
Hi, sir. Sir, will the president ease the gap between him and President Obama when they meet? Will he personally apologize to President Obama later?
You know, these are questions of civility, and we cannot impose any of our. But they will have an encounter, and it will be, from the looks of it, civil and warm.
Okay, sir. Last question. Sir, will the Philippines push for the inclusion of the arbitration ruling in the chairman's statement that will be released tomorrow?
About the ruling?
The chairman's statement, sir, is the final document.
Yes.
Released.
There is a way of referring to these matters without specifically addressing it that way.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please. And then the lady.
Will President Obama and President Duterte be seated together tonight at the dinner? Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tonight.
Tomorrow night. Tomorrow night.
The dinner.
I haven't seen the seating
The
arrangement.
seating arrangement, yeah. Oh, there's one at the back.
Rina
Okay.
Villamor from USTV. Schedule of other bilateral meetings of President Duterte and what can we expect from them?
The schedule.
Yes.
I believe there are two more, but one for today and one for tomorrow.
Yes, please state your name.
What are those?
Here. All right, so there's a bilateral meeting with Australia, 17:45 today. And that's it. I don't have a copy for tomorrow. We usually have it at the start of the day.
Okay, hello, sir. My name is Akiko Suzuki of the Asahi Shimbun, Japan. About the ships in Scarborough Shoal, can you see them? I mean, as of today, how is the situation of the ships? Are they still there or are they gone? Also, have you found any act of construction over there? Thank you.
As far as we haven't seen the latest updates, but there were no signs of construction. By that time that the pictures are published, although they were in the area. Thank you.
Yeah, please state your name, please. Your microphone?
No, you need to turn it on.
Yeah, thank you.
No.
Hello? Thank you. I'm in broadcast. I should know this. Sorry. Karishma from the BBC. Can you give me a comparison, sir, about the relationship that President Duterte is trying to build with Beijing over the South China Sea in comparison to his predecessors? Because there's been some criticism that the Philippines is backing down over the South China Sea.
About President Duterte and Beijing. Basically, the president is taking his time. He knows that, part of it is, he keeps going back to this, that he wants a soft landing he wants a soft landing. In other words, he doesn't want to force issues. He knows that the arbitration ruling favors us, and so that's why he's willing to, by this time, to be able to talk at the appropriate moment. But like he said, it will not go beyond. He will not. In other words, the ruling is the basis for the conversation.
And I think others have asked this as well, sir, but just again, when will that appropriate time be? Is there a trip planned to China, an opportunity, here to sit down and have that discussion?
Right.
Because it seems like you guys are in the strong seat, so.
Yeah. So they're simply, they're waiting for certain conditions to be fulfilled.
And those conditions are?
Private.
Okay, thanks.
David Santos?
Sir, I don't know, sir, if David Santos, sir, from CNN Philippines. I don't know if you're probably also were able to attend the retreat session this morning. We know that it is usually a freewheeling, open discussion, frank discussion among the ASEAN leaders. Was the China Sea issue also raised in that particular gathering, sir?
We weren't allowed inside the retreat house.
And my next question would be, sir, normally, sir, after the ASEAN meet, leaders of these member states go to New York City to attend the new UN General Assembly meeting, because there's a separate meeting there for the ASEAN leaders. Is there any word that the president might consider also travel to US?
Our peace negotiator, Secretary Jess Duresa, will be in New York.
Thank you, sir.
Marlon Ramos.
Is the Philippine government engaging the U.S. in dealing with the increased sightings of Chinese vessels in the Panatag Shoal?
There are no official engagements.
So you did not inform the U.S. counterparts about the sightings of the
as far
Chinese
as
vessels?
About the vessels, what has happened basically is that they've called their attention
of
China regarding these matters, and that's it.
Sir, how difficult was it for you to convince the president to approve the statement yesterday regarding the remarks about President Obama?
It was not difficult.
Why, sir?
He's a very sensible person.
Okay. How about him wearing a suit in today's events as the ASEAN Summit?
I think he thought it would be cool, but we don't really know.
Thank you, sir.
We need last three
Hello?
questions. No, Jim first.
Sir, I'm just curious if the release of the pictures of the Chinese barge and Coast Guard ships had the approval of the president. And the second question is, if it's confirmed that there is Chinese reclamation at Scarborough, would that change the soft landing approach of the president to China?
It's difficult to, answer speculative questions. Let's just wait and see.
But who at what level was the release of the pictures made? Was it the president who approved its public
It was
issue?
Secretary Esperon. Yeah.
And the DND, because it was
Yeah.
released by Secretary Lorenzana, right? With the knowledge of the president, of course.
Yeah, of course.
We'll be taking last two questions. Ian Cruz.
Sir, has the cancellation of the bilateral meeting of President Obama and President Duterte created a diplomatic crisis?
There's no crisis as far as we can see. Okay.
last question?
Is this the last question? Okay. Okay, I'll take it.
Oh, what about our friends from the back? Maybe you have questions
Sir,
also. Mhm. No, no, no. I'm just sharing the
okay.
floor to everyone.
Can I ask my question?
No.
No.
Of course, of course you can.
Sir, I just want to. Okay, sir, you mentioned that President Obama appears to be an emerging, influential.
President
he already
Duterte.
is.
Sorry,
Okay.
President.
Obama's
Duterte.
already
President. Sorry, sir, I'm
leader.
preoccupied with that issue. President Duterte appears to be an emerging, influential leader in Southeast Asia because of warmth and empathy. But warmth and empathy are very common in these kinds of events. What are the indications that President Duterte appears to be an emerging influential leader at a time when some experts say that ASEAN needs a leadership? ASEAN needs
The tone of the tone of conversation between the nations seems to indicate that they recognize his influence, they recognize his political will, they recognize his firmness, they recognize his resolve, especially, for example, to address drugs, the flow of illegal drugs. And in fact, the Prime Minister of Singapore asked how he was dealing with it, considering the fact that the Philippines does not have the death penalty. And so the leadership within the region seems to recognize that he has the political will, and he has been warmly received and warmly admired, in spite of the fact that you said it's a common thing, because they could easily snub him, considering the fact that he has also had some noise in the press. So it's basically that. It's just a general assessment that instead of what one would expect would be pretty negative press about him, in fact seems to be pretty warmly received.
Microphone.
This block, I mean, this.
Come again?
Do you think President Duterte is in a position to lead?
Well, he will be in a position to lead, considering that he'll be
the chairman.
He's going to
of
be
the
the
ASEAN
chairman
next year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, there's one at the back.
One more question?
Yes.
There is.
Microphone.
Please pass the microphone, please. Thank you.
Hi there, it's Rebecca from CNN. I'm just interested, as it's Duterte's first international summit. Is there anything that the President and your team have learned from this first excursion?
We've learned to answer your questions.
And also that he has a capacity for statesmanship that is usually missed because of the noise regarding some of his statements. But observing him talk with the three countries that he engaged in bilaterally, he was actually engaging the leaders in a very sophisticated. I keep going back to that. Very sophisticated political thinking, political conversation, and so it's quite admirable, and it's quite admirable that he's able to. That he actually engages in this kind of conversation, which is not always often seen. So, what have I learned? It's to open my eyes and to open my ears and listen.
We also learned, Rebecca, that President Duterte is a rock star not only in our country, but also in other countries like Laos, Japan, and how the other foreign ministers and delegates have scrambled to get a selfie with our president. You have a president of the republic who can stand and deliver.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, friends from the media. Thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella, Presidential Communications Secretary Martin Andanar from Vientiane, Laos, Back to our main studio in Manila, PTV4.